So on this particular piece, before I get started, I wanted to talk a little bit about the color. While I'm going to pour this using only the value, when I was looking at the color and thinking about it since our last time video, one of the things I like about these palms is they're that silver blue or silver green tone, and it's a very cool color versus our tropical green that we see so much, like your sap greens. So I've decided to use different paints than I typically do for this, or I should say colors. So I went back to what I call my old standards. I do lots of charts, and I found that I really like this silvery tone, so I've decided for the first layer I'm going to do that. That's like a raw sienna and a cerulean blue. I happen to use a lot of Daniel Smith paints, and I'm using their French ochre, which is very different than most of the ochres because this is a transparent, transparent paint, but it is also very similar to raw sienna. And the cerulean blue, a lot of times I'll use verdita blue or cobalt blue for my first layers, which all have some semi-opaque properties to them, but we're going to use it very diluted. So that's what I'm going to use, just those two colors for my first layer of this. I highly recommend you test and see if you like. What you'll see, and I'm just going to do an example of that once I have clean water. So I've made a little square, a rectangle, and my brush still is a little dirty. Just because I want to see how it's going to move. Going to put a little bit of that French ochre, and this is the cerulean. You do have to make sure they're well stirred. And then again, back to a little more playtime. See when they move around, what they do together. Could use a little more paint. And so I like what I'm creating here. And so I know that I'm going to go with that. It's a good idea to know what your mixtures will be. Probably for maybe my second or third pour, I may bring this into a magnesium or a transparent turquoise tone just for a little more brilliance. But for my first run on this, I want to keep it in that green tones, kind of really light. Okay. So this particular hacky brush, I only use with water. I've never had paint on it. There are some that are longer hair, but then I find that I have to remove the hairs on the picture as I'm doing it. So I know that's really nice and wet, even under these lights. So I mixed these colors this morning, so they're a little thick on me. So I'm having to dilute them. Again, if you go back to the color piece, I'm just trying to get some really light values. It may look like a lot of paint right now, but I can assure you this is not. Again, trying to get into all those cracks and crevices. Sometimes I'll work on a really large piece. This is kind of small for me. The last big piece that I poured was a 38 by 38. I've used also, done some 36 by 48. You can get gator board that size from a variety of companies. And it's a little easier actually for the paint to move when you have a bigger piece. This one's getting caught in some of the masking. Just a couple of things. Typically, if I'm doing something with primary colors, I'll start with yellow, then the red, and then the blue, and then sometimes go back to the yellow. The yellow seems to be a harder color to come through. It gets to be dominated quickly by some of the other tones. thing I would say, that when you go to do your masking the second time and you find that there are some spots that you've missed, it's really not a big deal. Just let it go. I mean, it's paper. Nobody will know. You might know, but really your viewer will not. You can always make some adjustments later or something. So I'm going to just get a little more color in this area. And then next, some of the other layers, I might add some Quin Gold just to put a little more punch in the picture. But for now, I just really wanted that overall kind of a silvery, muted green that these palms are known for. Some of the other reasons why I particularly like these paints from Daniel Smith is they have some granulation, and I just like that look and that effect. If I'm doing faces, I might pick a different paint or a different color, something that doesn't add a granulation to the skin. So I'm pretty much there. I'm gonna see if I can run a little bit of color down in here. If I need to, I can just help it along just while the other is drying. And then if you feel like you really want a different color or something in there, again, just kind of drop it in and move it slightly. That's it for this layer. I have to let it dry at least 24 hours, or at least overnight, because of the humidity. You can use a hair dryer. I don't recommend that. It just makes removing the masking difficult. And so what I do is I work on several pieces at the same time so that I'm not anxious to get back to it so quickly, or I allow myself a little more, something else to do in between while it's drying. So thank you.